All right, it's time again for ACC Baseball Etc, presented as always by our friends at Pitch Logic. It's the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. You can go to pitchlogic.com for more information. I'm Daron Vaught. I'm thrilled to be joined by the ACC Player of the Year, a member of the All ACC Baseball Championship team from a week ago. He participated in the championship game with his Seminoles. In that, it's Florida State's James Tibbs III. JT3, as I've heard you referred to a couple of times. Welcome. Thanks for joining me fresh off of practice, right? What's the build up to regional play been like for you guys this week?
Yeah, it's been good. Got back from Charlotte on Sunday and watched the selection show on Monday. Had practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, and we just got done. So hanging out, we're all excited. We're all ready to roll. So it's going to be a fun weekend here in Tallahassee. We've got 3 really talented teams coming in, and I think we're all excited for the challenge this weekend.
You mentioned the selection show, a big deal, I'm sure, when you guys saw that you were included as a top 8 national seed. So, that means you'll host this regional, obviously, but also if you were to win it, you would host the super regional. How big is that? How important is that for you guys to be there at Dick Howser Stadium?
Yeah, it's an honor, first of all. I mean, I think that we've done a lot of great things this year, and to be rewarded for that is something that we all are very thankful for. The Animals of Section B, these fans, like Florida State is well known for the atmosphere of baseball, the how well everybody knows baseball and how much they care about it here at Florida State. And to do something that we haven't done in several years now is important to us, and bringing postseason baseball back to Tallahassee. And so I think we're all really excited for it. I think we're all really we're just pumped to see everybody here and to have a full Dick Howser Stadium this weekend.
I do want to talk a little bit about the past, although I know that's not your guys' style to dwell on that. But this is a huge bounce back, right? I mean, it's sort of first of all, last year was historic in a different way, in that you guys had been 40 plus years making an NCAA regional. And I say you guys, Florida State, the Seminoles, that program had been in a regional 40 consecutive years, had been in the ACC tournament 40-something consecutive years. So last year was a setback that we're not used to seeing. And like you said, I'm sure that's baked into the emotion of people who are hardcore Florida State baseball fans who are going to be there in Tallahassee this weekend. How much is that something that you guys thought about, considered in – maybe it's motivating. I don't know how you would characterize it, but how much did that play in your head as a part of the team last year and the year before? So, right, you're kind of you got to Florida State and experienced Florida State as Florida State baseball typically is, and then you experienced the anomaly, only to be part of the bounce back this year.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we don't really think about it. We have a whole new team this year. There's 26, 28 new guys. And, now we'll talk about it. We'll talk about things that went wrong. But for the most part, with a new team, it's hard to kind of, dwell on that. We have a bunch of new guys that are hungry and motivated to win. And, with those guys coming in, we all had the same goal, and that's to be successful, to bring Tallahassee, postseason baseball again. And we've done that, and so we're thankful for that. It's something that, coming into Florida State, what it means to play postseason baseball here, what it means to be in the postseason, and how we all really enjoy it. We love it, and we want it to always be here. And so we've done a good job at really bouncing back and just kind of learning from our mistakes, but not dwelling on them, just kind of moving on and being ready to roll. And I think we've done that all year. We've had a lot of pretty funky situations throughout the year and had some stuff go wrong and go right. And we've done a really good job at just being able to just flush everything and keep moving. And that's something that I'm really proud of this team for. There's been a lot of things that haven't gone our way, a lot of things that have gone our way. And so regardless of what's happened, we all have just stuck together. We're a really tight-knit group, and it's been a fun journey, man. It's been something that I've never seen out of a baseball team. The love for each other, the talent is next level, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this team and to be a part of this program. It has meant the world to me, and to see what happened freshman year in Auburn, and then not to have one last year, and then to be able to bounce back and be here, to be at home for postseason baseball is something that I'm so thankful for, and I've had so much fun to be a part of this year. And so not only to be able to host it, but to be a top 8 seed is just as special to me. And so, we're all super thankful for that.
Talking about year to year, the team, I want to sort of shift gears and talk about you, the individual, from year to year. You were a good player last year, led the team in batting, if I'm not mistaken. But you've seemed to have leveled up. You went and had a really great summer on the Cape. What are the main differences for you? Maybe you don't feel different, but
yeah,
how are you a different player now than you were had we been having this conversation a year ago?
Yeah, it's funny. People have asked me that. It's like, what changed? Like, what's different? Like, I'm like, I have no idea. I just, I've done a good job of just sticking to my plan all year, being able to think out situations, not let the game speed up on me. Playing summer ball in the Cape this summer allowed me to just go out there and figure out what works, how my swing works, how my approach works. Doing all those things are so important. And being in the Cape this summer was super special for me. And just to be able to go out there and play every day. I love playing. It was so much fun, playing up there all summer, and just being able to figure out how to play to my strengths. And I feel like I did a good job of that this summer, and to be able to come back and just apply those to the fall, to the fall and to the spring, have been super instrumental in my success, I would say this year. So I definitely don't feel different. I don't think there's anything that's necessarily been a drastic change. I just think it's been being able to be consistent with my approach, with my pregame routines. All those things have helped me kind of just be comfortable in whatever situation comes my way, and being able to just to slow the game down and be who I am, not try to do too much. And so that's probably where I would say I've grown the most, in the last year or two.
Yeah, if you're willing to entertain it, I would like to try to like maybe isolate a variable. You talk about understanding your strengths better. I think a lot of people would look at your line for the season and look, okay, his strength is he's really good at baseball generally. How would you characterize your strengths? What are you best at that you, when you think about your approach at the plate, you try to emphasize these things, right?
Yeah, I would say for a long time I was too focused on trying to pick out one pitch and just try to see that one pitch and hit that one pitch. The issue is I don't necessarily get that pitch very often, right? So, maybe I was sitting middle in, or maybe I was sitting fastball away, whatever it may be. The reality was for me is that I don't necessarily see a lot of those pitches, and so for me it was being able just to react. Understand where pitchers are usually throwing baseballs, whether that be off speed or fastballs, and being able to just play to that, be able to stick to that approach, and react to anything else. A lot of times this year, it hasn't necessarily been the pitch I was necessarily looking for. It's just been me being able just to react and not really think, not really like do anything more. It's just to be as simple as possible and hope that whatever it may happen, regardless of the result, that I solidified what I was trying to do, and I did the best I could. I wasn't living and dying by every pitch as much as I usually was, and so I was able to just be okay with whatever happens, and be just free and easy, and not try to do too much. Just really sticking to whatever happens, being able to react and not necessarily try to pull a home run or take a pitch the opposite way. Just to be able to do whatever I can in that situation to give myself the best chance to be, a hitter. So that's kind of the main things I would say that probably changed this year. That really helped me.
Yeah, I think that's smart. We can overthink things, right? And you guys are hyper competitive people and players, so there's a tendency to overthink and overanalyze. And while having that information about pitch likelihood and that sort of stuff is necessary, I think there's a lot to be said for trusting your instincts, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you've played a lot of high level baseball. It at some point it's sort of just mechanical in a way that your body remembers how to do it, right?
Yeah, I would say, it's funny. Last year, I was towards the beginning of the year, I was really focused on pitch tendencies, what their percentages were, et cetera. And so for me, I realized really quickly that pitch tendencies I can kind of throw out the window. And so for me, it's more just understanding, counts. What is more likely? Men on base. Am I going to get something down with less than 2 outs? Are they going to go in on me with 2 strikes? Those type of things, like just being able to just read and react and not necessarily overanalyze, because I'm really good at overthinking, and to my downfall a lot of the times. And so for me, it's just like as simple as I can make it. It's probably better for me when I go up to the plate. And I felt like I've done a good job of that this year. I've been able to just kind of wash away things that have gone wrong or frustration, and just be able to be more calm and consistent when the time comes, whatever that may be.
Yeah. You talked earlier about integrating a bunch of new guys. I'm going to go back to the team reference here. Integrating a bunch of new guys, some with different experience levels than others. It sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun, and it's a team that really is bonded and loves each other. What else can you say about that dynamic and sort of the fit of all the puzzle pieces?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about this not too long ago, and it was a completely different atmosphere from day one. I've never, like I said it earlier, I've never experienced anything like this team. Like, it's so talented. There's so much competitiveness. Like, everything in the fall was just, so competitive. We were really looking to be successful in everything we did as a unit, whether that be on the pitching staff or at the plate. We from the offensive side, I've said it before, we're a bunch of 3-hole hitters that just happen to be put together, and we figured out really well how to play together. You got you got 100 home runs, which we haven't done in a long time. We have a pretty decent average. I think we're hitting over 300 as a team, something like that. Then you got people like Cam Smith that are hitting 400, that are just killing the baseball, and Jaime, who's really had a power surge this year. He's done such a great job. And then you got consistency throughout the lineup, from Lodis to Farrow to Cantu, to all the guys that have filled in. And I'm leaving people out, and I feel bad about it, but it's just so consistent all the way down the lineup. There's been so much success, and it's been in a multitude of ways, from bunts to home runs to sac flies and everything in between. We've done a really good job of just being a complete offense this year, and I think that's been a huge part of our success. Is we just understand that there's certain situations that call for different things, and we've been able to answer the call a lot of the times this year. And so, it's been an absolute blast to watch. It's fun because we might have a bad day at the top of the lineup, but the 6 through 9 hole has 8 hits, 9 hits, 10 hits, and we're just sitting there like, okay, perfect, let's go, we won. Great for us. So it's just been so much fun. Like, it's such a complete lineup, and to be quite honest with you, it's scary to watch if I was an opposing team. I've had a blast being a part of it, and there's no pressure on any of us. We just know that somebody's going to get the job done in whatever situation it calls for, and it's just been a tremendous blessing to be a part of this year.
I mentioned earlier ACC Player of the Year. Had we had this conversation this time a year ago, is that something that was, just like a far and away goal that maybe you would write down on a list of goals as part of your sort of setting your own expectations? Is it something that you've thought about for a while, maybe since being committed to Florida State? Where does that fit in? And did it surprise you at all? I'm curious if that is at all something you thought about until you were named Player of the Year.
Yeah, no, I didn't really think about it at all. It was something that there's so many talented players in the ACC that for me, I wasn't really thinking about that at all. I really was more focused on bringing Florida State, being a part of what brings Florida State back to the national level, and we've done that this year. And so when it happened, I was more like, whoa, okay, like this is cool. To be quite honest with you, it's just icing on the cake for just how much fun this year has been. I've had more fun playing baseball this year than I've ever had in my life, and just the guys and the coaching staff and everybody that makes that possible. It's just been a blessing, and to be named ACC Player of the Year is something that I definitely wasn't thinking about. Never really had it as a goal. To be quite honest with you, it was definitely not something that I thought I would get, much less be able to just kind of experience all that comes with that. And so to be one of the 9 guys that have been named ACC Player of the Year out of Florida State, to see that list is pretty crazy, to say the least. And so I'm just super thankful for it. Like, the Lord has blessed this year for me and for this team, and I've just been so thankful for it. And it's something that I'm very thankful for, but at the same time, like, we still have things to do. We still have games to win, and at the end of the day, whether that's sunk in or not, because it hasn't, I'm really just I'm more just wanting to win, and that means more to me than anything. And that was what my goal was this year. And so I wanted to be a part of winning baseball in Tallahassee. So it's all of that has been super cool.
I love it. I love it, man. I actually got the chance to meet your mother in Charlotte, Julie Tibbs. She stopped me on the concourse. I was just like between games and in the middle of games. It's a good scene. I kind of like to walk the concourse and get it from every angle and be a part of the energy and kind of soak it in. So she stopped me, and of course she was out beyond the wall and right. And she told me that every game you find her, you make it a point to find her wherever she is. And sometimes she's right there behind you in right field. Other times she's in other places. Obviously she's very important to you and your journey. Why is that?
Yeah, she's just been my rock. She's such a blessing. I mean, we call her the mayor because she just knows everybody. She's always talking to people, and she's very sweet. But I love her. She's been a huge part. She yells all things, which is Philippians 4:13, that we always have done. I mean, since I can remember playing baseball, she's yelled that, and she's an amazing human being, and I'm so blessed to have her and my dad in my life. Because it's funny, my parents don't sit together during the game. I think it's hilarious. I don't know why they don't. I think it's so funny. My mom sits above the bleachers in left field. My dad sits over in the stands in right, and so they just kind of sit in opposite places. And because my mom likes to pace, so she just walks around the stadium, and my dad just sits there and chills, and he just watches the game. And so I always it makes me laugh. I think it's a hilarious dynamic. But yeah, they're just amazing people. I wouldn't be here without them and what they've done for my career and how they've just supported me in every facet of my life. And so, it's something that people don't often talk about, but a player can only do so much. It's the people that support him that help create the success. And both my parents have just been tremendous in allowing me to chase my dreams and do something like playing baseball in college and doing it because I love it and doing it because I've had the people to support me in those areas. And so I'm just so thankful for what they've done and the blessing they've been to my life and how they've just allowed me the freedom to go and play and the sacrifices they've made. So it's just been it's an unreal journey. But the reality is while my name is sitting there and playing baseball, it's the people that help make it what it is. And so couldn't be more thankful for them and what they've done for me in my life.
And your grandfather plays into this too, right? Just this collective journey. I know you're James Tibbs III, and having the 3 numeral on the back of your jersey is something you have said is very important to you for that reason, because at the same time, yes, it's your name, but you're also kind of shouting them out at the same time when it's on the jersey back there.
Yeah, it's really important to me. They've had a huge impact on my life. And when Coach Jarrett brought back the names on the jerseys, I asked if I could have the 3rd on my jersey. I didn't want it I didn't care if people said it. I didn't care if it was on the scoreboard. I really just wanted it on my jersey to represent those people. And it's a huge reminder to me that, again, your foundation is the people that have impacted your life and helped you along the way. And so to be able to represent those 2 people and my dad, my grandfather, and just to be able to go out there and A, play for the Lord, and B, play for those people is a huge honor for me. And I hope that I do it in the right way. I hope I represent them in the way that they would want. It's been a dream come true to be able to wear that. I don't think I've ever had my name on my jersey before this year, and so that was something that I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to do that for them. Obviously the name on the front is what matters, right? But to represent not just myself, but the two men that have helped mold me into the person that I am today is an extremely important thing that I take a lot of pride in.
That's awesome. I love that that's a conscious, deliberate choice on your part. I do want to talk about, you mentioned your coach, Link Jarrett. But first, your mom told me a story, and she said you might have been as young as 3 years old when this happened, but she remembers it vividly. And it's you out in the yard at your home playing ball. I don't know if maybe you were throwing or hitting off of a tee or what have you. And she said you were a very animated kid. And at one point, while doing this playing around, you sort of got their all of their attention. And you said, I'm going to run around the corner of the house to where you can't see me. And
Right.
It's going to be like I'm running out of the locker room, out of the tunnel at a sporting event. And you were like, I want you guys to cheer for me. Right. So obviously from a pretty early age, not afraid of the spotlight. In fact, it feels like you from an early point in your life became somebody who embraced it. How closely does that align with your personality now?
Yeah, it's probably not the greatest, comparison to my personality now. I'm not the loudest. I don't really do all the stuff, and I don't have all the gear. I don't say as much as some people do. I just like to play. Like I like to let my game play speak for itself. And so, while I do love the spotlight on the field, I do love the pressure situations. That's just a result of me being confident in what I can do at the plate. And so, well, I definitely have always, my dream since I was 3 years old was to play baseball as long as I could, to be a major leaguer, to play in college, to get drafted, all these things. And so, from as far back as I can remember, I just loved baseball. I loved the game. I've loved every part of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the failure, the success. Like I just loved it. And, that's literally been my dream for as long as I can remember. And so, it's definitely something that was ingrained in me, watching the Braves growing up. I used to chart games growing up and do all that. I just lived and breathed it. And so for me, like those things are just parts of what I was hoping for growing up. And I've been so thankful to be a part of that, throughout my career and up till now into college. It's just been a blessing.
Yeah, you basically answered my next question, because then it becomes, okay, sort of embracing the spotlight is one takeaway from that story. The other one is that's a young age at which you are beginning to visualize playing in a setting where there are crowds to cheer for you. So you say 3 years old is really kind of when you started thinking, I might want to do this at the highest level.
Yeah, I always wanted to play baseball. I don't know why. Like I just grew up. Like I literally watched every Braves game growing up. Like even until I was 18, and I just watched every Braves game. Being from Marietta, East Cobb, kind of the old mecca of travel baseball. I just was always around it, always involved in some aspect of it, and just loved the game. It was something that I've hoped I could do and dreamed about. I remember growing up and talking to somebody, and they're like, you want to go play college baseball? Like, where do you want to go? And I named a couple of schools, and they're like, oh, so it's like the biggest schools, like the best baseball schools. And I remember questioning, like, why wouldn't I dream for that? Why wouldn't I want that? And so, I've always had crazy dreams and always wanted to fulfill a big role, and I've been so thankful to be a part of that as up to this date. So it's definitely something that I grew up like, okay, I'm going to do it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to, and I've been blessed to have some luck and some people involved that have helped make that possible.
You mentioned being a Braves fan. I would imagine when you sit down and watch a baseball game, you watch it maybe a little bit differently now than you did then in those earlier days. So I'm going to make this a two-parter. Who was your favorite Braves player back then? And now, who were some players that you watch that you see and I'm not necessarily asking, you emulate their game or what have you, but who are interesting players for you to watch? Because I know a lot of times a hitter could be fascinated by watching a pitcher or something like that.
Yeah, so my favorite player growing up my entire life was Chipper Jones. Wore 10 for as long as I could possibly, wear it as much as I could. I grew up in the Brian McCann, Chipper Jones, the end of the Tom Glavine era, Smoltz, watching, those guys play. And so a lot of my life was growing up watching those games. I remember being 3 years old, going to a game with my dad and my grandfather, watching Chipper play. I watched Freddie. I saw Jason Hayward's first home run, his debut. All those guys, I watched them play. And so, for me, it was more just watching and just being in awe of those guys and their talent, their success, and how they go about their business. And for me now, it's more like watching pitch sequences. Like I really don't emulate anybody. I don't really try to be like anybody. A lot of times, they might have different talents than I do, or they might be way bigger or have more speed or et cetera. For me, it's just being able to just think through the game, think through what they're thinking about, what they're trying to do to hitters in certain situations, whatever that may be. I'm more just in awe of the thinking of that goes into this game because there's so much of it, and I think part of what makes it so special is how much goes into every at bat, and being able to, it's a game of chess. You're just trying to out maneuver the opposing player, whether it be the pitcher or the hitter. And so I just love watching that and watching the way they compete, the way they go about it, and how consistent they are at not getting themselves out or making good pitches. And that to me is just it's what makes this game so special. And people might think that's boring, but for me, like when you're a part of it, when you see that, like it just makes it so much different. Trying to figure out what a pitcher's trying to do or figure out what makes a hitter successful. Those things are super cool to me and things that I definitely try to figure out or emulate. To help me grow in my game.
Yeah, this is funny. So from like a media nerd, former player perspective, your swing is one that I look at and can find some interesting things about. I'm curious, do you ever watch like a big league game or another college game and you notice a hitter's like timing mechanism and you think, maybe that's something I could incorporate because it's not a leg kick, but it's sort of the little stride with your front leg back towards your back leg, and that's your timing mechanism. When did that start, and how did it come about?
Yeah, so we made a lot of changes going into my junior year of high school. I went from the East Cobb Astros to the East Cobb Yankees, and worked with James Beavers, who was our coach, and then Rick Eckstein as well, who was a former head coach for the Pirates. And we made a lot of changes, and there was a lot of growing pains my junior and senior year. But it kind of just developed into something that I find rather unique. But the more I watch, the more I see people doing similar things as I grow older. Mostly just for me being able to process and pick apart those certain things. And so, there's definitely been times this year where I've been like, whoa, I'm not getting my legs. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe it's just not working the way it usually does. And I've done, a lot of soul searching in those areas, trying to figure out what are my cues, what are my thought processes to make sure that's on point. Because for me, a lot of mistakes in general in baseball come from you not being on time or you not necessarily doing the correct things that work for you. And so, I feel like my swing is just a tad bit unique in the way that I go about my business. Just from the gather and my slot with my hands is a little different in my view. And so for some reason it's worked. I don't know why that is, but it's something that, I take a lot of pride in, and I really love doing it. I can feel, I almost feel like a green light goes off in my head when I feel my slot in the right way, when I feel like I'm in my leg in the correct, timing. And so it's something that I've definitely grown to understand and really know when it's correct. But also it can be it can be difficult at times, when it's me making sure that it's exactly the way I need it to be. And that doesn't always happen. There's a lot of different variables that kind of create inconsistencies. But for me, I feel like I've done a good job at really minimizing those and being able just to understand how I need to do it, whether my body might feel off or my hands might feel off or whatever it may be. I feel like I've done a good job of being able to kind of maneuver around those and work with what I've got. So.
Yeah, I've got one swing follow up before we finish up talking about your coach. How often do you watch film from a previous game to detect things like that? Like maybe I'm not in it with my legs enough, that sort of thing. Is that an every game practice for you?
Not necessarily. A lot of my mental growth has come from watching good swings, watching success. Now I'll compare that to bad swings or bad, stretches and try to understand what was working in those good times compared to the bad times. But for me, like, I felt like my confidence in my ability to hit has a lot of that comes from like watching good swings, watching home runs, watching backside singles, backside doubles. And that for me is like just allowed me to really grow in understanding how all those things work. And so while it's maybe a little bit unique, it's something that's just worked for me. It just helps me with my confidence going into that game or into that at bat, whatever it may be. I try to visualize the successful attempts and create confidence from within going into that next at bat.
Man, if only that was the case for all of us, right? You just pull up your favorite hitter on YouTube and watch their highlights, and then boom, it's transformed into you.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason that works for me. I don't know why. It might be crazy. It might be unique, but for me, like, seeing success allows me to visualize and really understand that those are what's going to help me. I can't necessarily watch other people because sometimes their swings are much different. But for me, like watching my own swing, it just helps me comprehend how that was working well in that situation.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. We were talking about foundational people in your life. Over the past couple of years, it seems to me like Link Jarrett, your head coach there at Florida State, has become one of those people. This is not a sort of first year to second year question for you, but I mean maybe it is. What are the pillars under Link Jarrett that make him as opposed to other coaches you've had?
Yeah, so I'll share a story first. We went into so I had come off labrum surgery, didn't play the fall last year, going into sophomore year, and we went into my exit meeting, and so I've had this whole fall to really dissect my swing, my thought process, my mental approach, all those things, and I went into our exit meeting in the fall before the spring, and I was like, listen, like these are the things I want to do. Like I want to do a 2-strike approach. I want to do this and that, and I was able to, explain all those things. And he stopped me. He's like, Tibbs, whatever is going to make you the best hitter, do it. And I was like, okay, like that's fine. Like, those are the things that I've really thought were going to help me and make me the best hitter that I could be. And so he kind of just let me grow up, go through the growing pains, work with me when I needed it. But he really just kind of let me fail. He let me succeed. He let me do all those things, which were so important to my growth as a hitter and as a baseball player. They sucked at times, and at times they were difficult. But he was so confident in allowing me just to be me and a lot of times it was like, look, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sucking right now. I don't know how to fix this. But at the end of the day, like, he really just let me be me. And I could not be more thankful for that and the way he worked with me for that. And, I think he's such a great approach. He's got a really good mental game as far as allowing us to use different approaches. I think we got like 8 or 9 different approaches. And he's allowed us to really just grow in that aspect and really use those in certain situations or in different situations based off of our scouting reports in ways that I might not necessarily have done before. And that I've never experienced, anything like that from a coach. And so it was super cool to kind of just learn those and learn how to approach hitting in a different way than I'm, maybe my life it's been see ball, hit ball. And now it's like, all right, well, I can use this and I can put my own little touch on it to allow myself the best chance at success. And so he's just been really good with those things that, you might not necessarily have thought about before.
Yeah, no, it seems like a perfect marriage, right? This conversation started or toward the beginning of it, we were talking about your adjustments becoming a little bit more instinctive, right?
Yep.
But it's good to have sort of he's a mental coach just as much as he's a baseball coach, right?
Yeah.
Just the guy, the voice on your shoulder sort of telling you when to snap into it. Okay, this is a time where you need to think very deliberately about this or this or this. But also just go, right? He's Paul Rudd and Forgetting Sarah Marshall teaching you how to surf, right? It's do less, do less.
No doubt. Yeah, it's been an honor to be a part of that and kind of experience that firsthand. So thankful that he's been here and helped us the last 2 years.
I love it, man. Well, can't thank you enough for the time, James. Best of luck this weekend. Postseason baseball back at Hauser Stadium. I know the people of Tallahassee are pumped. It should be a great environment. Good luck to you and the rest of the Seminoles this weekend. And again, thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going to be a fun weekend. We're excited.